Warm greetings and very warm welcome to this first session of the Sanjeevani from the whole team here. And maybe for some of you it's good afternoon and also good evening, of course. In fact, would be very nice to hear where you're from. If you would like to put in the chat, it would give a feeling of this gathering. So do put in the chat, and to let you know, there is Chinese translation today and French. And this Sanjeevani, we will be hearing from different teachers, but mainly Prashant, and his background is medical, but has been associated with these ideas for more than 40 years. And the Brahma Kumaris, of which the teachings are based, organization was founded in 1936 in northern India, and now there are centers in many countries. I came across these ideas through Google search in Cambodia. So this is much easier to go through Zoom. Of course, it's nice to meet, but very convenient. And so nice to be joined by those in the US, Hungary, London, and India. And can you hear fine? Some are hearing, some are not. So it's a pleasure to be here and welcome you. And throughout the session, we very much encourage your interaction, participation using the chat, but also we will have room discussions where we all get to share. It's very important and lovely to hear from all of you. So I'm going to welcome in Prashant, and good morning. And USA, very nice. Thank you. Welcome, Prashant.
Thank you, and hello, and very welcome to this week. And we are going to explore the ideas together. And that's what was mentioned. It is like interaction. The source of the ideas are what we call Murlis, the knowledge of the Brahma Kumaris, and opportunity for us to explore and see its application in our lives. Recently, we had a program for one psychology department, 2-day program. And one of their professors, she said, we truly don't know spirituality at all. It is so abstract, and we want to understand spirituality. And this is the story with the most in the world. We know there is something that spirituality, but is too abstract. Our aim is to bring a rational approach to spirituality, try and understand it in our normal life, and see how we can make it practical. I will be using the whiteboard all along, and we are going to start with it right now. And lots of ideas will be built with sketches. So in your device, ideal to use a big screen device so that you can see it properly. And today we are going to see one big subject, and that is identification. I will clarify what that means. And the big subject because it affects our lives. It affects the national, international, if there are wars that are going on, they are because of this identification. Sorrows are because of this identification. So if we understand it, it helps in a big way. Our 100% of anger is because of identification. And ordinarily this subject is not understood, even in the psychology world. They may use the term, but they use it in a superficial way. We are going to use the same term, but understand a little bit the subtlety of that subject. So we will start with this big subject. The word is identification. I don't know if we have got a very good translation for this in other languages, but you may stay with that word identification in other languages. I will clarify. First time I asked, what does that mean, identification? I was given an example. If a cat, something is stuck in the throat of the cat, and I feel it is happening to me, then it is identification. One very good example I have is with John Lennon. John Lennon, half the world used to worship him at that time, and one gentleman, young man by name Mark Chapman, he liked John Lennon, and he worshipped John Lennon in his own way. He had a house full of posters of John Lennon, photographs. His hairstyle was like John Lennon. And this went on for many years, decades. And then time came, he started to feel he is John Lennon, that he himself is John Lennon. This is what we call identification. And we use this image of a small I for that. We are talking about false identification. Mark is never John, but in this case, he started to believe he is John. And this is a very psychological phenomenon that happens in human beings. One friend of ours by name Robin, he was an actor and quite well-known actor, and he was performing in a drama every day. And in his words, the part he was playing every day, that part, that role started to take over me. So in other words, he felt as if that part is I, that I took birth in connection with that part. And we use the word identification for that. And a small I is shown to represent it is false. This letter I cannot be used casually to anything. There is you, and that is end of you. You don't become someone else or something else. And that's why it is false. Now let us take my example, and I like this simple example. And here is a plant, and I am asked to water that plant. So I water this plant every day. It has nothing to do with me, just I'm a guest in this place, and I'm watering the plant every day. And some praise the plant, and one day someone is saying the plant is ugly, and I take the offense. Someone says that plant is ugly. Is it possible to feel offense? He says the plant is ugly and I take the offense. Is it possible? Now, it is possible, that people do take offense. And so the question, why? He did not say anything about me. He just said the plant is ugly. And why is this person taking the offense? He is very different, that person. Person is me. So why is he taking offense when the plant is described as ugly? Do you want to tell? Plant is a separate thing.
So it was taken personally. The plant is part of his ego. There was attachment to the plant, calling it mine.
Yeah, excellent. What happens? Everything happens at a subconscious level. Consciously, he doesn't say that, but subconsciously, just his association with it, he feels that plant is part of him. Just that association. We like to include things in our orbit. Next thing, he gives himself self-respect based on the plant. People like the plant, he feels his respect is going up. He feels good, about himself. People like the plant. And then the next thing that happens is that he gives a birth to I based on the plant. As was said, everything subconscious. Consciously, he is not saying, that I am the plant. Like Mark Chapman, he said, I am John Lennon. That is conscious. Here it starts in a subconscious way. There is I created based on the plant. And this I takes everything personally. You praise the plant, it feels as if you are praising me. You criticize the plant, it is taken personally. It becomes my offense. And as was said, it can happen so quickly. Now, big question. Can you give other examples of similar identification? Do we identify like this? And if so, can you give an example?
Yeah, there are many examples. The children, that's a big one. Maybe their performance, and parents as well. Maybe family generally, friends, but also what we wear, car, house, any possession, maybe qualifications, country. Ideas at work, profession itself, performance, skills, item of clothing we're wearing, even in the shop it was from, our habits, routines, body itself.
Yeah, very, very good. Here, very good observations. But yes, let us go through this list. The I based upon another person. It can maybe children, maybe parents, maybe some pop star in your area, celebrity. Sometimes your leader, prime minister, or king. People identify, take it personally, and identify with the clothing. And one day that shirt was in the shop, and today you feel as if it is part of you, and you like people praising that shirt. You identify with the car, identify with the house, identify. Some of these are very subtle identification with the religion, identification with the nation, Or it may be just a city you live in. You may identify with it. Like someone comes to a city and says, "Oh, I don't like this city very much." You might mind it. You like people liking the city or country you are in. You identify with ideas, opinions. You just happen to open your mouth and said opinion. And someone says, yes, yes, I like this opinion. You feel as if they are nice to you. Now, this it is good to observe this because we are saying we are going off the tangent there. We are going into what is false, and a tendency is created to move away from truth. And there is penalty to this. So big list about this. Now, okay, I identify with the religion, identify with another person. Where is the problem? Why is it a sort of why are we making a big deal about this? We do many things that are not completely right. So why is it a big problem to identify? One reason you tell. Why is it a big problem? Identify.
Well, you mentioned just now that there will be a penalty, so that seems like a problem, but question is why, I guess. Why is there a penalty?
Yeah, this false I that is created, that is very insecure because it is based upon the world that is not in your control. This whole world that we are talking about of body and people, and it is not in my control. And on top, it is all going to end also. This body is going to end, that car is going to disappear, the things are going to change. And so such is the nature of that world. And you are using the letter I to all these things. So this I wants to survive. This is such an absolute need of everyone. And the moment this false I is given birth, its survival is questioned. It is I. In confusion, we give birth to this I, and then he realizes that he is not safe. He is very insecure, and now he realizes that others can make him more insecure. They can criticize, they can scratch your car, they can break things. So all of this makes one even more insecure. Understand here, deeper level, he wants to survive. It's the energy of survival that is at stake. This is the way he sees. Am I safe here or am I in danger? When we use the word ego, yeah, ego is a good word to use for this. All these identities together, broadly we can use the word ego implying false ego. So there is this subconscious insecurity all the time, this false I. And now, no one likes to stay insecure, even for 1 second. As was said, we want to be safe, we want to survive. This is a deep drive in every living being. You don't want to feel insecure for 1 second. You wouldn't choose to sit next to a tiger for 1 second. If you are in that situation, you want to get out of it in the first second. So there is a deeper desperation to feel secure. This is the story with each and everyone. This is what is ruling everyone's life. Different identities, different desperation. And now, a psychologist will tell you the whole definition of stress is where there is a desire and uncertainty. That is what causes stress. Desire uncertainty complex is called stress. So here it is a desperation and not just a desire. And if there is uncertainty about it, then we call it stress. If your desire is met, then stress disappears. If the desire is not met, you are not getting what you want, it will take the form of anger. You are not getting what you want, but you can't blame anyone. Then it takes the form of depression. If you can blame anyone, then it takes the form of anger. If you can't blame anyone, that anger is directed towards yourself. And that's why it takes the form of depression. So there is a I, from I comes insecurity, and from insecurity comes desperation. When we said if there is an uncertainty, we call it stress. If you lose your desire, it takes the form of anger. If you can't blame anyone, it takes the form of depression. If you don't get your desire, but someone else gets it, it takes the form of envy. So you will find the whole spectrum of our unpleasant emotions. Its origin is and this in identification. Just as mentioning co-host, you are deleting what I'm
Deleted.
doing.
Okay, didn't you? Thank you. It was an insecure moment of losing. Okay.
So you got an idea. It's the whole spectrum of our unpleasant emotion. Its origin is identification. So the identification starts, and that identification. This is the only reason for sorrows in the world. You are feeling insecure there, and there are situations that make the insecurity worse. And as was said, the whole range of whether it is stress, whether it is depressions, whether it is anger, whether it is envy, but you will notice the various combinations of this. Like from anger comes revenge, from anger comes irritations and annoyance, road rage. The whole department of sadness is this, what we call depression. Stress, all the different fears, they are connected with stress. Comparison, competition that comes with the world of envy. Sometimes people want to become free from anger, so they say, I want to stop anger from today. It is not possible to just say, I'm going to stop anger from today, because there are roots. There are deeper reasons why anger comes. And if we have not seen the roots, suddenly we can't just stop the anger. But if the root is understood and addressed, then you can become free from all of these things. So this is like a nice thing to understand for us, that there is the root there, and here you need to see the absurdity of your identification. We gave the example earlier of people identifying with that. Sometimes we have a conference in Cambridge, in university, had a conference on identification, but they're seeing it as a very normal phenomena. It is like a very academic discussion. Some identify with this, some identify with this. We don't see it that way. Here, to use the letter I to something you are not, it is like a degradation, absurd and intellectual degradation. You might see sometimes people identify with shoes. They are so happy. Someone praises the shoes, and someone praises the dog. They identify with the dog. Can you imagine? You are using the letter I to a dog. You are using letter I to the shoes. It is an intellectual degradation. We need to see it, the absurdity of it. Maybe subconscious. Mark Chapman identified with John Lennon for many years at a subconscious level. And in time, it became conscious. They started to feel it as if it is him. In the same way, the example of the actor, first day it was not conscious. It all starts at a subconscious level. But it is still absurd to feel consciously or subconsciously, to feel something else to be I. And if I just see the absurdity of it, it becomes easy to drop it. And if you drop it, you become free from all the sorrows that come from it. That department. It is not you become free from anger forever, but anger coming from that identity will disappear. You want to add anything? Do you want to say anything? Any comments or questions?
One question: with stress and depression, as shown as SD there, etc., are they the beginning of addiction? And do we have addiction as a means to feel secure? Is that the reason?
Addiction is a separate subject. Here, stress, depression, anger, envy, these are the areas we highlighted here, but different kinds of sorrows. But addiction, we'll discuss it separately, maybe another session.
Question: is it always negative? Doesn't this little I, give us happiness and a high as well?
Yeah, of course. Here we saw that there is insecurity. From insecurity comes desperation. And I might, like for example, I want a job. I don't only get a job, I get a promotion, and I get praise, and I get a bigger hat. all of this will create a great intoxication, great happiness. But what is the but here? That happiness feeds that I, and that I gets bigger. Because it's a nourishment for that false identity. And as it gets bigger, it is more sensitive to what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow, if that job disappears, he will be more seriously depressed than on the first day. So he gets trapped in that wrong direction. Once the direction is wrong, it, as was said before, there are penalties.
Yeah, thank you. No other questions? Yes, there is a question. What is the solution?
Yeah, yeah, that is why we are here partly, But let us try and understand this subject of identification a little bit more, and see the scale of it in our world, in our life. Lots of our social interactions, large percentage of it can be very, very trivial. Just some superficial praise and superficial pleasantries that goes on. Seen objectively, you feel it is such a waste of time, but it is happening to feed each other's false identities. You have to make others comfortable, and then they will become your friends. Like sometimes here, some people, oh, your dog is so nice. They are busy. The dog is a dog, nice or not nice. But they have to say something like this, your tie is so smart, and then you make the other ego of the other person comfortable, and then you can deal with other things afterwards. Otherwise, he will block it. He is insecure. The other person, when we are leading a life of these false identities, that is the dynamics that happen. Superficialities, but it creates society that's more superficial by going in that direction. One girl, I'm giving some examples. One girl, she said she tries 8 different dresses before she goes out to work. So what is going on there? Do you want to tell? Why would anyone try 8 different dresses before going out to work?
A lot of insecurity around how she looks.
Yeah, sure. And knowing this person, she's a pretty girl. And imagine from young age, others tell her, you're pretty, you're pretty. And poor her, that I, based on appearance, got bigger and bigger. And now she goes to work and no one says anything about her appearance. And this I feels very insecure. So she goes and buys another dress, hoping it will change life. And no one says anything. You can almost see how the life can be wrecked by just creating this false identity. As you create a false identity, yeah, one is creating problem to oneself. It is not necessary. This giving this example, but it applies to all the false identities. I was in one gathering recently, and someone said, identity with a religion makes me secure. And all these identities are making us secure in some level. That's why we are going there. Like someone is praising your hat, you feel secure. Someone is praising your appearance, you feel secure. So that's why we are going there. But it is a false direction. And since you are going in a false direction, you are now making yourself vulnerable, like that girl. That identity gets bigger. And now someone says anything about a religion, you will guaranteed will react in a predictable way, whether it is with sadness or anger or they're predictable. And as was said, this becomes the reason for personal problems, but also collective problems. One person asked me, would Einstein not identify with his theory, with his ideas? If he comes in one science gathering, everyone identifies. So also the people in the universities and science, they also identify. They identify with their theories and their ideas. So he said, will Einstein not identify with his theory? Now, whether we can never know what Einstein did. But let us imagine you are a scientist or you are a, you are doing research and you come with the first idea. There is an idea. If you don't identify with the idea, there's an idea, you don't identify with the idea. Some say this idea, something is not completely right here. This is wrong in this. Something is right, something is wrong. You are open to hear the criticism. You are open to understand the idea. You are open to understand new ideas. And as a result, you grow and you are free to take on a better idea. You are, it may be new idea that comes to you. You have been open to understand the limitations of that idea, and then you grow and you come with a better idea. And even this idea there may be, so you come with a better idea. There is a possibility of you growing and coming to know the bigger truth. If you were to identify with the first idea that you came in contact with, first idea that came to your head, you identify with it. You are stuck. You remain there. You don't want to hear any criticism. No one can tell you something is wrong or right. You stay there. One remains the fool that he was. So if someone reaches the level where his idea is helping and civilization for 100 years, I'm talking here Einstein, then he must be open to take on different ideas, and it helped him to know the bigger truth. This same thing applies to any of our lives. More you are not identifying, there is a growth, and it is good for oneself. If one identifies, you are stuck with that first idea you came in contact with. Now the question, what can we do about this? How can we remove the ideas, these false identities? One obvious answer here is we need very better perspective of the true I. If I get the better perspective of the true I, then the problem is solved. At a very practical level, like taking the example of the plant. There is a plant, but there is someone who is the observer of the plant. I don't need to identify with the plant. There is the observer, me watching the plant, and that is enough. The word is with the observer, and create a very clear difference that I am temporarily associated with that plant, then I have an exit. In the same way, same principle we can apply to this larger world. Become the observer of everything, observer of the dog, observer of the nation, body, clothes. Know the difference. That is not I, that is observed. And the observer is someone different. Spiritual knowledge emphasizes the aspect of invisible observer. And that really helps you to step right out of everything. You don't identify with anything that is in this world. And to play with that, that invisible observer is dealing with this whole world, and you got a place to come back to. There is a real you behind all this. One is to know this, but second is to nourish it, to stay in that awareness in all situations, to make it stronger. And that is what will help you remove the false identities that are already created. So here we are going to see a photograph of your mind. If you have to take a selfie, but this selfie takes photograph of the mind, then you will be a bit shocked to see that there are many, many I within it. One I is based on the shoes, one I is based on the religion, one I is based on the town you live in, one I is based on your leader of your country. But one big I, that you are the professor of advanced mathematics in your university. But someone else may have even bigger I than the professor, that she's the wife of the professor. So all of this going on, but as that is going on, it is at a cost. And the cost is your true I is becoming smaller and smaller. True I is you are the observer. You are behind all this. There was a time you didn't have any of this false I, and your natural state was more like this. And you gave birth to this other I. And they are like parasites, this false I. They want to get bigger. They want to take on, and they multiply, and then very quickly your true self is reduced to a tiny dot. Here is this your true self reduced to a tiny dot. And all these false I are so big, and they all are insecure. They all are trying to get further. They want to get bigger. Their idea to address their insecurity is to get a bigger hat and bigger car and eat more. That is their idea of making itself secure. They are in the reverse gear. More they get fed, they become more insecure. That is a trap they are in. So whole thing is a product of ignorance. We said if you go in a wrong direction, the moment you go in the path of falsehood, there are penalties. And here, further you go, bigger penalties, because this I get bigger and unnecessary, different kinds of sorrows. Our job as a spiritual effort maker, what is our job? Every time you are creating a minute, half a minute, it is nourishing this. You are a winner. Because as you are nourishing that true identity, the false identities are becoming weaker. You are removing them. So the answer, we will get chance to discuss this in more detail as we go further. But enough to know that more you are nourishing the true identity, the false identities get weaker. That is the shift happening. More you increase light, darkness becomes less. As the darkness has increased, light has become less. This is what has happened. Yeah, any comments or questions?
Beautiful, this light and dark, and a comment on that. Someone's sharing, knowing more about the true identity dims the fake or the false identity. So it's a very different approach, isn't it? To certainly what I was used to. We sort of tend to analyze, where is this coming from? And it's good to have insight, but if we haven't got the strength to be the observer, then we almost caught in the dark. And the answer to bring light, and then certainly analyze, but more from a position of a stable, secure I. There are some questions. One that's just come in. If I am observing my small I's, such as body, money, girlfriend, house, job, from the invisible true I, who is observing, are you saying that is the solution?
Yeah, observing, by that we are nourishing the true identity. That we are saying that observer is a secure position. He is the invisible observer, and he doesn't. He is not in that world that is unpredictable and out of control. He is the observer. So every minute you are in that observer identity, you are nourishing that. And as you are nourishing that, you are removing the false identity. You are making the other identities weaker. You are not just observing the identity, but you are observing the world. Like, for example, giving the example of the plant. And there is a plant, someone likes the plant, someone doesn't like the plant. There is an observer. He says, okay, you don't like the plant. That is plant and that is you. But you are still my friend because that it is not taken personally. That is the point. Someone says the company I work for, that is a bad company. He doesn't like the name. That name is a funny name. I don't need to mind that because it is his opinion. The observer is understanding what his opinion is, but he remains friendly with him because offense is not taken. It is not taken personally. He is still free to tell him how wonderful that name is, why that name is so good name. He is free to explain, but he is doing it from his strength. He is doing it from that secure position, from that position of peace, not disturbed. The moment he comes in the identity, he is insecure and he solves the problem unnecessarily from sorrow. This applies to all our life situation. I'll give some examples. One teacher gave a report, and the report was that this boy is so wonderful, very good in everything, but he's lazy. And the mother is so angry with the teacher that she wants to change the school of this boy and creating so much problem to everybody, including the boy. And you are observing the situation, and whole problem is created from nothing. It is just one comment, and the next time the report may be very different, and the report may not be wrong. It is not done out of some vengeance. It is just a teacher has to give some report. But this one identity is like taking that offense. She identifies with that boy, with her son, and my son is perfect, this kind of thing. And anyone says anything wrong about this boy, he is that person is my enemy, this kind of it, taking everything personally. Now, if she was not to identify, she will say, okay, then maybe it may be good for the boy to know that he has to address this, laziness. Maybe 1% laziness, but it will be good for him. The whole thing becomes so easy. And this way I'm giving the example. Something that is so trivial, one can make a big mess of it just by identification. Same thing happens at an international level. Something that is so trivial, that this identity makes a big mess of it. We fight wars. If there is no identity, we can solve it on a different game altogether.
When you say there's no identity, do you mean implied no false identity?
Yeah.
We have identity, but we need the true one.
Yeah, that's nice.
It feels like, for me, what I feel, the problem is we're just not familiar with that option. As you gave the nice example, someone criticizes even your name. You're free to clarify something, but without insecurity. So, would you like to just maybe give a commentary or get the feeling of what that
Yeah.
true I space is?
Yeah, nice. Yes, sure. So let us create this experience of being the observer, the detached observer. And one nice way to be the observer is to be a guest. We all have the experience of being a guest. And A guest is very much involved in the place, but he doesn't identify with anything there. He doesn't take anything personally, even though he is involved. He may be using the place. He remains that observer, detached observer. And so there is peace of that, peace of the being a guest. He doesn't go into various waste thoughts and taking offense, giving offense. He is not in that. He is friendly with everyone. We remind ourselves that we are guests on this planet. And this guest is invisible guest. The invisible guest is associated with everything, but not one atom belongs to him. Doesn't need to identify with anything. He knows he doesn't own anything and he can't lose anything. Invisible guest is the invisible observer. He experiences that security of the detached observer, experiences the lightness of the observer, experiences freedom of the observer. He remains friendly with everyone. He remains in control. Thank you. Just want to add one more aspect here. We saw when we are in the false I, the insecurity and subconscious insecurity dominates. When we are in this observer space, and we use the image of a capital I for that, true identity, we find we are absolutely secure because you identify with nothing. You've got nothing to lose. Things come, go, people like something, people don't like something. You are not trapped in everything and you're not taking anything personally. And when you are so secure, anytime you are secure, even for 1 minute, security brings out the best in you. When you are secure, you experience peace. When you are secure, you experience happiness. When you are secure, you experience love. When you are secure, you experience contentment. Very interesting. This secure feeling is like a big medicine for the mind and also the body. When you are secure, it gives you the feeling of fullness. Putting in other words, that insecure feeling creates the feeling of emptiness. It presents as emptiness. I'll give you one example. One young man said to me, when he was 18 years of age, he wanted this, 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 this. And he said now he's 44. He got all this, what he wanted. He got all this and much more than what he wanted. But he says, now I feel empty. I got everything, but I feel empty inside. And at one time, at least I thought if I get this, I will be good. Now I got it, but I'm feeling more empty. So what is the reason? What has happened is now there are bigger identities and there is more insecurity. And these insecurities are feeling empty. That insecurity, as was said, insecurity presents with emptiness, but secure feeling presents a feeling of fullness, that you feel you got everything, a feeling of contentment, feeling of fullness. Secure feeling is a powerful thing for everyone. As was said, we all want to survive. That is a very important thing. This false identity, we can never make it survive because it is false. Foundation itself is false. And more you try to solve it, they get bigger, and you are in a reverse gear in that life. We have the option to come in the truth. Instead of false, come in the truth. That is the only answer. And moment you come in that, you are now in that space of positive space, of deeper contentment and deeper control. And you are more friendly and you are enjoying your own mind and you are enjoying your own life. And from this space, you are trying to solve the situation. We give the example of this mother with her son, getting the report. When she is in the secure space, she still is free to take a decision, but she is not reacting. She's taking decision from that peace and from control. And when she is taking decision from that insecure space, she is reacting, and creating problem to herself and to others also as a result. Like a mad dog, it just can go anywhere. This is exactly what happens with human beings, the false identities. The shift that brings about is enormous. As was said, that this is like a major area for the world. We cannot fix this world at a deep level with the false identities. If this is like everyone, all the citizens of the country are with false identities, and we just have some prosperity and want more prosperity, that is not going to make the world better. We have to get it right at a deep level. Each individual, each citizen has to be free from what is false. Because these identities, as was said, are like mad dog, and they create problem to oneself and to others also. Just one word I want to mention connected with religion. There are many, and I am one of them, who don't know the religion in which I was born, don't know properly the religion. but there's many years spent identifying with that religion. And this is what happens in the world outside with lots of people. We may not know the religion. We don't know the essence, definitely. We don't practice. But we identify with religion. And to identify is seen as being religious. And so we are catching hold of the wrong and what is unwanted part, and what is really wanted, we are not in a position to even understand it. And the same thing may happen to many other things in lives. If we were to drop these identities but practice the religion, then the world will be better, and it is good for the self also. You practice, try to understand the essence of the religion, but you don't need to identify, because that is false. But the same principle applies right now here. We are talking about these ideas, yeah, and I'm talking of these ideas. I need to check that I'm not identifying with these ideas as I'm talking. Some of you, one person may say, these ideas are dangerous. No one should be told this idea. It should be stopped. And if I do not identify, then I will be free to understand why it is said, and maybe there is need to refine it a little bit further and remove the danger within that. That may be something that is dangerous within it. But if I am stuck, if I'm identifying, I am not free to understand even if there is some positive suggestion in it. But identify, this tendency is there right now. As I'm saying, tendency is there in me, and it will be there in you also to identify. And not to identify, we need to make that little effort, extra effort, not to identify and to come out of the false identities we have created, replace them with the true identity. That is like the purification when we bring about this change from that old state to this present state. So let me hear some thoughts from you.
I'm enjoying, for some reason, the word hygiene at the moment. We think of it as physical, but they are speaking about mental hygiene as well. And this is like a spiritual hygiene. The meaning of cleanliness for health is just, just to observe it. It's very freeing. And as you said, you could have prosperity, but if you throw the solution of even physical level prosperity at a mind that is with all these little eyes, it's very clear that it's not going to be a solution. Someone is asking, so am I now identifying with my observer and hence back in the loop?
What we are saying, observer identity is the true identity. That helps you free yourself from the identity based on external. Observer is the you, real you, and it is safe. What is outside of you, that is what is false. That's what we are emphasizing. I want to add one more aspect here. Today I'm just presenting it. We need to revisit, from time to time. We spoke of the identities gross level. Identify with people, identify with dog and shoes and religion. But then we create another set of identities, and these identities are based on the image of yourself. One image is I am one who is always punctual. You create an image. It may all be true. You are punctual. But then you create an image about and a shadow, the ego around it. You create an identity that you are the one who is liked by others. You are the one who is always right. This is a big identity in many people. I'm right. Identity. These are all images. You may have some skills. You may be good in singing. You create an image that I'm the one who is always good in singing based upon the skills. So you may be good, but because there is a image created, tomorrow you may not be. Your singing is not appreciated by anyone, and that should be no problem. Tomorrow you may not be able to do things you are able to do today. It's normally no problem. But if that identity is there, it is a problem for him. It will make him insecure if suddenly things change. When the identity is not there, it doesn't affect. At a practical level, what does it mean? Today we are seeing this. At a practical level, over the next week, next month, next year, we will be very, very wise to observe various dynamics that is going on in life. And each time you get even the slightest unpleasant reaction within you, reaction based upon little sadness or little offense or little anger, little envy, any of this feelings situation come, your priority is not to blame others, but your wisdom is to locate what you are identifying with in yourselves. That is your priority. To know what you are identifying with. There are different identities. If you observe them and see the ridiculousness of it, because that is what happens. You suddenly see, oh, I'm identifying with shoes. How strange. You feel you're getting this huge reaction and you notice you're identifying. And sometimes you're identifying with the leader of the country who you don't even know. You're identifying. You see the absurdity of it. And when you have observed the absurdity, it has become so easy to drop that identity. Some people have said to me that they suddenly noticed their anger disappear. And it happened because they observed the identity. What is that identity that was creating anger? They saw it and they saw the absurdity of it. And in those cases, suddenly they notice a big change. What was creating every day at work, there was some kind of anger, and they suddenly noticed that it disappeared. As an example, say you prepare food and you invite a friend for a meal, and you make real effort to do the best, and your friend, you know, it's it's with you, and then says, I didn't like the food. She did not stop eating, she ate everything. And then she says, I didn't like the food at all. Someone else prepares it better. Now, that is her part. But if it bothers you, if it disturbs you, then whose fault is it? Here we are saying it is not her fault at all. She may be just honest. But if you take the offense, it is an opportunity for you to see what you are identifying with. Are you identifying with the food item there? Are you identifying with an image? I prepare always good food. Everyone likes my food. Is that what you're identifying with? Worth checking. If that is the case, then you will take the offense. But once you have seen it, once you see the absurdity of it, you will find next time similar situation comes, you don't get the same reaction. You become completely free from it because you say, oh, why not? She doesn't like it. It is her choice. She's just honest. But she's your friend. You remain friendly. So let us hear some thoughts from Sarah, and then we are taking break also.
Just wanted to acknowledge some really great questions, which we will come back to after the break. Yeah, I feel it's probably been mentioned, but even 1 minute, it is it's very clear. But I think when we just take that break for 1 minute, we will also come back to that simplicity. I liked very much what was said. We get a space to come back to. So even if the mind was full of all kinds of various impressions and feelings, it's like a clean start. You touched on the guest. So we can kind of lift the mind above all of the complications which come up, and then we get insights, and it's great when we observe it. It half of the battle is gone in a way, and life is an opportunity to grow and learn rather than feeling a victim of circumstance and personalities and etc. So keeping it simple sometimes, even if it's a minute, we get that strength in the self. Yeah, but a lot to reflect on. Very, very rich and relatable. So I thought the question for discussion could be, what are the different kinds of false identification? So just even that as a churning process, and what is the answer that you are picking up? Someone has already said they just started the list of the eyes, and not being aware of it before. So it's nice to share that. Giving space to everyone in the room, just to remind that some people might not be in camera. If you can come in camera, it's great. It gives the chance to meet as best as we can in this medium, but there may be a coordinator who will take the role to facilitate, if not, if someone would like to do the honors, but I think someone should be assigned in each room. So enjoy, and we'll be meeting back just over 10 minutes. We'll also be hearing from a guest after the break and coming back to your questions as well. So enjoy, and Heather will be opening up shortly. Thank you. Warm welcome back. I hope we haven't broken any engaging conversations at a critical time. We're going to take just a few moments of reflection, some silence to get the feeling of this observer, the one that is seeing everything but also free. Let's take a moment for that. Thank you. Although it's only a minute, it feels like it has immense power to do something like that. Something simple, but we need to be reminded, perhaps, at least I can say that. So today we're going to hear some thoughts from Sanjay. So very warm welcome and good afternoon, good morning.
Yeah, good afternoon and good morning for all. Well, I found myself with lions, many mothers that were talking about their motherhood and their attachment and identification. Yet I realized that they are good mothers that are doing the best work to be attached from the idea of identification of the mother, yet not losing the duty of raising the kids in a proper way, giving them the freedom they need to grow, yet when there is a need to say something or do something to protect them, yes, to do the right thing as a mother. And also what was interesting, one uses the model of a trustee to attach herself from things that belongs to her, kind of, and look at them as things that she needs to use, but not attached. And when they are not there, it's okay. Equanimity when they are there or when they are not there. So this is like the guest model. Also, the trustee model works the same to remove false identities, especially with things like car, house, etc. From my experience, I didn't have the chance to share because many mothers were taking the time. I don't know, maybe if you know Sanjay, I had a big identification with the role of making the popcorn, the best popcorn in the Yagia in Israel. So one day there is that sister that came on, a new sister, and she started to do better popcorn than Sanjay. So I lost my position as the best popcorn makers, and I had to deal with it. So I made eventually I made my peace with this. So using those models and tools that we are hearing now. That's it for now. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. And it's a sweet example because we can all smile, but this is what happens. It can be with a job, but it can be with something, anything. And that's what seemed to come up. It's such an engaging topic. And also I was thinking of my grandfather, you know, the aging process is a really clear one of needing to let go step by step, one by one of everything. But we are doing this with realization, the true self and that self-respect. We may still do those things, but it doesn't need to be from that dependency on the outcome, so that desperation is not there. Yes, so that was one aspect, and also in the chat, if you want to share, would be lovely. Now, one thing is a question that came up in that connection, if I can find it. One was asking, should we not pursue a better job that makes us happy because we may lose it in the future? So that's one of the questions. So yeah, handing back to Prashant. Thank you.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you, Sanjay. And like to hear the popcorn story.
Right now?
No, I heard it.
Okay. Sure.
Let us create a few minutes of experience. And as was said, trustee, a guest, the observer, all this helps us to step behind the trivial, everything that is going on, but that is the real me. And the guest is a very useful positioning. It is like a extra defense. Guests normally won't identify with things. So guest, even in the body, the invisible observer is an invisible guest. So he doesn't identify even with the body appearance. Even for 1 minute, to grasp this perspective, we are flying past the whole thing temporarily associated with everything. We are seeing the absurdity of creating any kind of entitlement, bondage, identification, questioning it when we are loosely associated with it. Thank you. The question about the job, the idea is we don't run away from anything. We are guests. Guests don't run away from anything that is around them, but they are wise. They don't sort of jump into the pot. They don't say it is mine, and identification when you say I to something that is outside of you. So we bring in wisdom and stay out of that direction. Remain sensible. So things come, things go. That is the nature of that world. But whatever is right, you are able to choose what is right and what you would like to do. Any other?
Yeah, there are a few others. From what you're saying, it feels like we become anchored in a higher happiness. So happiness is good, but you have it anyway. And then this is like a bonus. You might appreciate it even more. So yeah,
Nice.
more royal. Can we get to the balance where we are not needing the praise, but also enjoy it when it happens?
No, it is a bit like And someone is the one friend gave a nice example. She said someone brought a sofa from her house. They were moving the house and there was a sofa. So she said, "Can we leave the sofa in your house for some time?" And she said, yes, there was a place. So the sofa was in her house. And some others come, some friends come, they say, "Oh, nice sofa, so good. Can I touch this? Can I yes, can I sit on this sofa? So good sofa." And she tells, "Not mine." She hears the praise, but she can also say, "It is not mine." So she could see the difference. If they were to praise other sofa, there is a different intoxication. If they praise this sofa, there is a different feeling. We don't need the excitement of praise to feel happy. When we are aware of the bigger map, when the guest is aware he's a guest, he has higher happiness. And that is what we are emphasizing. His happiness is based on truth. Foundation is truth, and that is far superior. And he's involved with various things here. People praise, people don't praise, and people criticize also. He is beyond. He is more the observer, and not taking anything personally. If you are enjoying praise, then you will also be vulnerable for criticism. That is the way you get trapped.
I think one confusion that can come up is we're so motivated by this. The circuitry for the drive. And so even this question, what about identifying with a purpose or mission to better humanity?
Any identification puts you in a different spiral. A mission is nice and the purpose is nice, but if someone says and his purpose is higher, better, and someone you will find yourself in competition. But you got a purpose, but you are not identifying with it. Then you are in that other space, higher space. You are secure, and from there you are cooperating with others for what they are doing. You are not in competition. You don't get disturbed if they don't cooperate with your project or if they criticize your project, because you don't take it personally. You remain beyond the pettiness. The moment you identify, you come into pettiness.
Yeah, it keeps definitely a balance in the mind. Someone is also asking, when we get into a passion about something, and even they're given the example that someone, I think she's saying in her school, was part of the team that invented YouTube. So it's like a very strong drive and a passion, and is an identification a fuel to that kind of creativity or entrepreneurial.
When you are in the higher space, we spoke of you are secure, there is happiness, there is peace, but also enthusiasm. And in that space, you are more creative because you are thinking more clearly. So all of those are motivations. We don't need the motivation of that lower excitement. You are doing it from enthusiasm, creative ideas, fun to be useful. But we don't need to go into pettiness and confusion. To identify means you're lost a border. You don't know what is I and what is not I.
And you were saying about the scientist or inventor that they don't just identify with the first thing that they come up with. They're free and open, and that creates new ideas and progress. So it's very needed.
Yeah.
What about identification with our past?
Here, your whole idea of I itself is the observer. So the past is not your past. That is happening in the outer world. That body, role, everything is you are aware of that. Whether it is present or the past, that is the past in the outer world. It is not you. Keeping it very, very clean. There is no sort of extra, some extra prize by identifying with something. More you become free from identities, then you are more in the truth. So whether it is past or whether it is future, whether it is your purpose, why identify? You can still deal with it, but the truth of who I am is very narrow. There is no need to mix other things within who you are. To stay with the truth is our priority here.
Very clear. So maybe you've answered this already, but how do we know we are an observer, which you highlighted earlier, completely step back, invisible observer, versus the identifier or the false identifier?
How to know? First we have to play with it. Ordinarily we are identifying with that is the present culture. Everyone identifies. You are in that observer space only when you are paying attention. So we actually need to give this attention and step right back. The invisible observer, observing everything here, observing the performance that is going on, observing this scene. Try and grasp this again and again. And various situations come, high drama, low drama, praise comes, criticism comes. These are all opportunities to step back and be the observer. Some success comes, achievements come. In those situations, see, if you can be the invisible observer. Get the perspective from there. Get the happiness of the observer. We need to get familiarized with that perspective. Ordinarily, at the present age, we are out, we are mixed, and false identity is very, very dominant. The understanding is a very good thing, like we are understanding the subject of stepping back and the observer, but the practice of it is very slippery.
Yeah, that's helpful. And there's one question here connected to this. They're sensing that it is not completely clear, that it can be opaque. As you just said, there are many, many eyes. So the question is written, this appears to be in layers. And if I start removing the layers, how will I know if it is the truth or another layer? Maybe it could be a meditation experience you want to share so we get the feeling of it, but what is the simplicity that we can hold on to in this?
Yeah, sure. If you remove even one identity, you see the benefit from it. As was said, some say they are just free from anger. What was really bothering them, it is not bothering them anymore. So you literally notice the freedom from all those negative reactions that you are getting. You have become free. You drop another identity, you become free. And as you become free from some of this, like remove the clutter from our mind, then you can see more clearly then. You can see the contrast better. At this stage, we have to start the process. It is like moving from understanding the subject to practicing. We use the word yoga, from knowledge to yoga. This is like the necessary part for everyone.
Makes me think of the Einstein quote where he said, if I have a problem, I will spend 55 minutes and I have an hour. He says, if I have a problem and I have 1 hour, I will spend 55 minutes to understand the problem and 5 minutes to solve it. So it feels like this first session is really being clear what is the diagnosis. And when we understand it, it should be principally simple to actually get the true I. Sometimes we need contrast, don't we? Or we need to know who we are, then we understand what we're not, and vice versa. Question, could you define yoga here?
Yeah, that higher consciousness we spoke of, movement in that direction. We use the word yoga, but we will have more opportunity to build on that subject over other sessions.
Yeah, thank you. So there aren't any other questions right now?
Let us come in the practice of it again. And we are getting these glimpses, and there may be many wonderful things in a place, but the host has one attitude towards these things. He may be identifying with some things, not identifying with others, different levels of identities. Whereas a guest in the same place, he is also involved with the same things. Guest is light and he's carefree and is friendly with everyone. Some like, some don't like, but he's friendly with everyone. Just because he's not identifying. We are saying we are on this planet and we don't identify with anything. We try to grasp this. Not identify with nations, not identify with body, not identify with religion, not identify any object, ideas. What will it be like? Then it is that invisible guest on the planet, guest on this world stage. And he is carefree. Very, very secure. He remains the observer and he can appreciate everything. He can appreciate the variety. He can appreciate different opinions and different behavior. He may have the way to address it. He wants to solve it also. But he loves and he is in control. He doesn't solve it from anger or he's in control. invisible observer, he is the invisible guest. He is useful to himself, he is useful to others, because he is not into pettiness. He is useful to himself because he holds on to the truth. Simple path of truth. He also knows everyone is a guest on this planet. He knows the greatness of everyone, innate and original greatness of everyone. He knows that everyone's starting position is peace. They all are noble in their personality. That higher personality is the noble personality. All are noble, all are good. As we continue on our journey, we remain aware of this extraordinary truth of everyone. All we have done is seen a bigger map. As we go through the next 24 hours, we bring in this angle of the invisible observer and see the contrast. Different situations, we see those situations from this another angle. What is the perspective from the invisible observer? One who doesn't identify, one who is a guest on the planet. Guest even in the body. Invisible observer of the whole performance. Thank you.
Thank you. That is like a homework, it feels like. So we'll put that in the chat as well. And the angle of the invisible observer a few times. It's nice, a hobby energy. We'll put a link to the recordings if you want to review. It will be a couple of hours. We'll upload in a couple of hours. So thank you for being here, and we look forward to meeting again tomorrow at the same time and hear your thoughts, experiences. Very practical. And anything Prashant wants to add?
That's good. Yes.
So enjoy, and we'll meet again. Enjoy your experiments. See you tomorrow.